Okay. All right. Good evening and welcome to another episode of Dr. Melissa Medicine Woman. I am so honored to be with you tonight, and I have a special guest. Deborah Drummond has joined me tonight. So welcome, Deborah.
Thank you so much, Melissa. I am so happy to be here.
Yay. And tonight we are going to be talking about brain health is sexy. And so before we get into that, let me go through my disclaimer that I have for you, because as a healthcare professional, I want to make sure that you know that the content that we are sharing tonight is for educational purposes only, not intended to treat, diagnose, or prevent or cure any disease or psychological disorder. A specific pharmacist-patient relationship or physician-patient relationship is necessary before any medical therapies are initiated. Please consult your physician, pharmacist, or other qualified healthcare provider with questions about your medical conditions and before starting or using any dietary supplements, herbal remedies, exercise, or nutrition plans. And on Dr. Melissa Medicine Woman, we do talk about ditching the pills. And we're going to talk about brain health and all of these things that you can be doing to make your brain sexy tonight. But first, let me introduce my guest. Deborah is here with us, and she's an ultrapreneur. And I'm going to allow her to expand on that, exactly what that means and how she's going to come and talk to us about brain health tonight.
Well, there you go, throwing it right at me. So you know what ultrapreneur means? Ultrapreneur means that you've been an entrepreneur way too long. So if you are creative, for me, and the classic standing of ultrapreneur would be someone who has many different projects or many different aspects of their business. And there's usually some kind of theme that's attached to it. So I'm in, health, wealth, and wellness, right? So there's different lectures that I teach on, or we were talking about supplements or different courses or trainings. And I've been an entrepreneur for 31 years, and people just started calling me an ultrapreneur. I literally had to look it up. I thought it was like this really cool name, but then it was like, oh, there's all these other people that we know that are ultrapreneurs as well. So that's what an ultrapreneur is.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And you have been in health and wellness for quite a few years as well. And we cross paths with the supplement realm and with movement and things like that. And on Dr. Melissa, we talk about whole body health. And that brings in all of these pieces when we talk about physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And tonight we're going to talk about the key element, your brain. And why is brain health so sexy? Because there's a lot of different things that we can do for our brain. And so let's jump into it. And I believe you have 10 tips for us, or 10 things we're going to talk about tonight. So we'll start at the top. One of the things that I think about for brain health is actually sleeping. And wouldn't you agree with that?
I would. And it's going to be great if we can get through 10 in the time that we have, because me and you are both great communicators. And I get very excited. So absolutely, I always tell people, just to put it briefly and just to validate what you said. Yes, I've had 30,000 clients over my years of being a health practitioner, and I absolutely love health and wellness at the core of everything I do. And when you talk about sleeping, I just tell people simply this, we all wish that we could have house cleaners, and what happens is when we actually get into that nice, beautiful state of sleep is that some house cleaners come in and it really cleans the toxic debris out of our brain. And just think of all the things that we take in during the day, whether we're walking down the street and we're breathing in, fumes or what have you, or even people that live in the country, there's just things that toxate this beautiful organ that we're talking about. And to just be able to have it cleaned while you're sleeping for free, it's kind of cool. So what I tell people, because, not everybody sleeps well, and there's certain things that I recommend for people to be able to sleep or to aid in that sleep. That's more supplement based or chamomile based or what have you. And that is, I don't know how I can explain it. I mean, even from the aging of the organ itself. So a couple of things I'll say to people is dark curtains are a really good investment. I'm actually getting some for my 18-year-old son. He's like, Mom, I'm staying awake too much. And I'm like, okay, I better do that. And also sleep masks, as unsexy as they may look, as unsafe, because honestly, I'm going to just be, when I was like, I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know if I want to put that on. Is it going to be comfortable? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? But when you actually have that deep, dark sleep, well, we all know you go to a hotel and they got dark curtains and you miss your sleep time to wake up because your body's trying to really recover itself. Yeah.
Exactly. And yes, I will second that. Dark curtains and those masks, and they have the masks that some of them are flat, and then they have the ones that actually stick out away from your eyes now. And so they are definitely worth the investment. They're very small investment for your brain to be functioning. And then when you get a good night's sleep, you function so much better the next day. It's just amazing. So let's talk about the next thing, the next tip that you would give us about for being brain healthy.
Well, one of the things that I think people don't think about, and I don't know all of your demographic, but I talk about sport. I talk about sport. This is one where people love me or hate me, just straight up. They love me or hate me. And there's certain sports that are more brain safety based. I mean, we know that. The sport that is the safest for your brain, that gives you the highest success of brain activity, is actually ping pong. So ping pong, now, you might have been in your friend's basement and you're playing ping pong as a kid or what have you, but it's actually a great sport for your brain. And it actually very rarely would cause brain damage, right? I mean, I don't know, you trip over a cord or something, but you've already done a disclaimer. Swimming is probably one of the best exercises for overall health, including the brain. So ping pong is the best. And then of course, swimming is incredible because there's all sorts of other things that swimming does. And I think that we already know that there's things like, hockey and football and rugby and soccer. And the one thing I say about soccer is that, don't bang the ball off your prefrontal cortex. And so many times people don't realize just how soft the brain is. They somehow think because it's protected by this hard skull that it's hard. And they also our skull is soft, or smooth. And on the inside, it's not as smooth. Like, it's not like it's smooth. There's little jagged edges that your brain can tussle around with. And just look at the ratio of concussions. Look at the ratio of concussions that happens in sport, and you'll see it, and particularly with younger kids, and it really can affect their mood. It can affect depression. It can affect how you're feeling. It can affect all sorts of things that sometimes aren't so tangible in the moment. And so just being conscious of the sport you choose and how you do that sport. I was the one that, my son showed great soccer, a soccer ability, and his teacher was like, he really loves soccer. And I'm like, not happening. Now, my son happened to have a learning challenge, and I'm like, I don't need to put those two together. That's just not a great combination. So nobody loved me. My son wasn't jumping. Sorry about that. We seem to have a little we've got some technical difficulties in Canada right now. He didn't love me, but we went into gymnastics. We went into gymnastics, and he was still young enough that he loved me anyway. So sometimes we make those decisions.
Exactly. And I think we have to make those decisions. And what we don't realize is that when we get hit in the head or we get that concussion, our brain, let's think of it like Jello, just because, and you hit it and it wobbles. Our brains do that. It wobbles between the underneath the skull there, and it's jostling around, and it's not going to be the same. It's just not going to be the same after you've injured it. And so I love that. The sports, ping pong is great because it's hand-eye coordination, which stimulates your brain. And very rarely are you going to get hit in the head with the ball. So I love that. I love that. And we have to be that way as women. And, we talk to a lot of women on this channel, and as moms, and we have to make those tough decisions sometimes for our family, the safety of our family, and the sanity of yourself as well. So it's keeping your brain healthy by keeping your kids healthy and safe.
Yeah. It was a hard no for me because of my work. And when I say hard no, it was a hard no because sometimes it's tough to go up against a teacher or an ex-husband that was like, whoa, it's so, wasn't as big of a concern for him. Everything's fine. Everyone's been fine. He'll be fine. And I'm like, I'm just not willing to take that risk. Now I have friends that their kids are in soccer, they're soccer stars, they're this and that, and that's cool. I just think making an educated decision and is, you know, at least so that when they're on their third concussion, at some point you can go, okay, my kid's changing, or their behavior's changed, or they used to be really great in school and getting good marks and now they're not, and what's going on? And you look at the deciding factor and you're like, oh, or having your kid in soccer and just go, please don't bounce this off your head, you know? Yeah.
Exactly. And noticing that, I think that that's the key, is noticing those changes. And it's not to say that it's not always permanent. It could be permanent, but we can retrain our brain, and that we do that. So there's different ways that we do that. We've talked about ways before, but there is ways to retrain your brain. And so if you happen to have had a concussion or something like that, we can retrain you so that you're getting these skills that you need, and you can have a very sexy brain as well. So let's go on to the next one.
Okay, so while we're on the hate-love relationship, let's talk about, you know, foods and drinks. Let's talk, I mean, we know that there's, you hear a lot of heart healthy food. There's a lot of heart healthy food. And so I think we could pretty well blanket the whole, you know, body by saying that sugar is the number, you know, for me, sugar is the number one enemy to the body in itself. It certainly doesn't help your brain. A lot of times you can wake up the next morning, like if you've had no alcohol, but you've had high sugared foods, you can wake up the next day and feeling like you have a hangover, right? Sugar is very damaging to the body, and particularly to the brain. And so you want to eat food that's really kind of brain healthy. And I'm like, you can have, like, you know, spinaches are great, and deep, you know, those deep green leafy vegetables are great. And if you look at a walnut, it's the shape of a brain, fantastic for the brain, like nut oils, avocados, all those things that you would expect to fall into that healthy category. Like roughage is really great for the brain. The one thing that I do want to touch on when I talk about that is alcohol. So I'm not saying that we're going to not go through, you know, some people don't drink at all, and that's great. I think there was over 10 years that I chose to not drink just for health reasons, right? And do I have an occasional glass of wine or something now? Yes, I do. But I make that conscious decision. I know that if I'm going to have that, I need to somehow counter it. And I know, I mean, we do things and we know, whether we're playing soccer or we're staying up late or whatever, that it's not great. It's not making my brain sexy tonight. And there's a price that I'm going to pay for it. But alcohol does affect the brain. Like it actually, I mean, statistically, the last time I looked at the stats, 3 glasses of alcohol, three glasses of alcohol more than 3 times a week will shrink the size of your brain. Being overweight can shrink the size of your brain by 30%, 30%. That's a lot of brain function. So alcohol is not a brain's friend. And while we're here, we're talking about, because there's lots of countries that aren't places in terms of legalizing marijuana, there really isn't, you know, alcohol affects parts of the brain. Marijuana affects all of the brain. There really isn't a part of the brain that doesn't get unscathed. It does a lot of denullifying of the brain. And so you'll see people that have smoked a lot of pot, or, you know, and it does affect memory. It affects, when you talk about hand-eye coordination, you know, all of that. So the brain does not respond well to marijuana. It doesn't respond well to alcohol. Yet we know that. And then high sugared foods and having the body in a state of overweight can shrink the size of your brain.
Absolutely. And all of those are things that, yes, we should be limiting the amount of alcohol. Pros and cons about marijuana. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine.
Yeah.
Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. And these affect your brain, and they affect other organs as well. So it's not just your brain, but when you are having that marijuana and you're losing that brain function, you're losing things that you don't have. You know, you're losing your memory, you're not being able to function as well. It affects other body processes. And if you're taking supplements or medications, alcohol, sugar, and marijuana, all three interact with different things. So I agree. Let's limit the amount of all of those things. And yes, it's okay to have an occasional glass of wine. It is proven that it's good for you in certain instances. Now, if you don't drink at all, then that's fine as well. But you've got to know what's okay. And then you also have to know that just having that glass of wine to take away the edge of the end of the day is not necessarily the best thing either, because that's an issue that runs into, okay, do you turn to alcohol for times of relief, times of stress? That's really not where you should turn. So that's a whole nother discussion that we can have another time.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead, and what is our next thing to make our brain sexy?
Right. Well, I want to, and before we go on to that, no matter what we're saying, there is like, with alcohol, there's antioxidants, or someone could say, marijuana there's always, we're just talking in relationship to the brain. We're not talking in relationship to anything else. So for some people, they're like, if I didn't have that or do that or what have you, I'd have another condition or what have you. We're just really talking about effects of the brain, and then people can make their own decisions. I think that when we talk about the brain, let's talk a lot about, as we're on our phone right now, or on our computer, or on our tablet, is the relationship that we're having with technology. So the relationship that we're having with technology. I did my very best to keep my son away from technology as long as possible. My daughter, who's 29, still to this day will talk about how mean she thought I was, that I wouldn't let her have a cell phone until she was 16. And how I let my son have it earlier, because there was actually no phone booths, because my kids are 10 years apart. So I didn't have much choice, right? But so a lot of times technology is a forced technology. I do 90% of my work on technology, right? And a lot of us have certainly been in front of it. And just recognizing what that's like for the eyes, recognizing what that's like to experience that much blue light, recognize how it is actually very addictive for the brain. It is very addictive for the brain, like games. I'm not talking about having a Zoom call or being on your show like this. I'm talking about those things that are really activating and really kicking off that addictive, games are, not conducive. Even if you're doing, now I was not one that got into, there's like all sorts of games that you can play. There's adult games that get addictive. Like, I think there should be a category for brain health and candy. What is that one, candy store or candy cane or whatever that one?
Candy Crush.
Candy Crush or something, right? People were like into it, like for hours, you couldn't get them out of it. So I think people just need to recognize what their form of entertainment is and how much time they are spending on screen. Because again, blue light, it also keeps you indoors compared to outdoors. There's all sorts of psychological aspects to it, but it can be very neuronally addicting.
Exactly. And that is, I mean, that's our day and age. We spend so much time in front of a screen. I can remember as a child, we didn't have cell phones back then, but that was a long time. And what we went outside and we played in the yard, and we played in the mud, and we made cakes and mud pies and things like that. And we don't see children. I don't see children, many of them, outside playing. Now I do see a few, but most of the time there's a screen. I saw the other day in the store, there was a baby, probably 3 months old. She was fussing. Somebody put a screen in front of her. So it's been proven as a great babysitter, but what is it doing to your child's brain? And what is it doing? Because I think it's decreasing the brain function. I really do.
Well, there's actually restaurants, and you'll see adults. I mean, I don't know, I'm sure you go out for dinner or go out to lunch or what have you, and you go there, and I literally, and I'll point it out because it's, when it's your work, it's a whole different ballgame. You notice things. It's like buying a red truck now. Everyone in town's got a red truck. So you go, look at that couple. They're having dinner and they're on their phones. And that couple and that family. And there's actually restaurants that actually, when you arrive, they'll put a basket on the table. They'll take all your phone and they'll give you free desserts. They'll take percentage off your bill. And the whole idea is for you to have a time together or experience the meal together. I'm not even a big fan. Now, if you're going to a sports bar and you want to watch sports, absolutely there should be TVs everywhere. But I don't want to go for dinner and see 4 or 5 TVs. My favorite Italian restaurant, just I went in the other day, I'm like, what is this? And they keep it on. It's got commercials and it's got stupid stuff. And I'm like, it's a beautiful Italian restaurant. We're having like a great time. And there's like, you can't get away from the screens. And I'm like, you're not a sports bar, for crying out loud. So it really is, we need a break from screen time, and adults are as guilty, but they are not, adults don't tend to be watching those neuronally addictive wham, bam, do, and the adrenaline rush and the adrenaline drop and the adrenaline rush and the adrenaline drop, because you got to get to the next one. And, you know, that was another one. I wasn't a favorite mom for some of those games that I was like, not happening.
Exactly. Those, some of those adult games are addicting. They're like, I can't quit. I can't quit. I can't do this. Well, it's a brain game. I'm stimulating my brain. But what part are you harming of your brain as well? So there's a stimulation, but then there's a little bit of harm. So let's go ahead and go to the next one that you have for us.
Okay. So, this is a very big blanketed topic. And there's all sorts of things that people do, but just the ratio of stress that we have that taxes the brain. If you start to get to be self-observant, so if you start to actually listen to your body, I always say, look, I did massage, I worked on bodies, but half the time people got to me, when they first came to me, tend to be in an acute state. There's something physically was showing up, or they were like, I just need to chill out. I just need to relax. I can't distress. And they would have this beautiful 2-hour massage, and you could still see that they come down a little bit, but not completely. And it would be a journey for me to get my clients to the place where they would start to come see me preventatively. And so I just want people to tune into their body and start to hear, literally, it'll happen for me sometimes. I'll be doing my day. Now, look, I take really good care of my brain. I have really strong duration with my brain. But if I start to feel at a certain part of the day, I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm just done. Now, if you have work to do later, that's okay. Just be done for the time. Just be done for 5 minutes. Just be done for 10 minutes. Like, listen to your body, because this brain, just think about being in relationship with it. The unfortunate thing for the brain is you can't see it. And so sometimes we have a disassociated relationship. If your hand was hurting, you'd stop and you'd go, oh, maybe I should go put some cream on it. Maybe I should rub my hands together. Maybe I should give it a massage. Maybe I should, do some this. Maybe I should put some, whatever. You see this, you see your arms, you see, oh, I've got a rash on my skin. I should go take care of that. I should maybe go to the doctor or put some chamomile tea on there. You would attend to the call of the body. But when the call of the brain, you don't hear it or you don't see it. So you might go, oh man. And when you start doing this, like when you start putting your head in your hands, you're like, that is your body telling you that it's enough. Now, here's one of the things that I tell people to do that you can, because I can't necessarily say your stress is going to change that day. That's a whole different conversation we can have about changing your stress in the moment, because you can do it. And I'm going to give people some things that they can do just immediately in that moment that's going to actually make your brain take a breather, be really happy. I'm not going to tell you in the middle of your day to grab your journal and go write for an hour. Probably not practical, okay? But I can tell you to do it at night, because to brain dump your crap onto paper is amazing. You will sleep better. You will just sleep better, and you will have less stress, and you won't wake up. Keep in mind, the thoughts you have before you go to bed tend to be the thoughts that you have when you wake up. They don't, like, yes, our whole world processes while we're sleeping, but it tends, whatever you see. So if you're watching, well, I'll talk about that one. That's our next one. Remind me to talk about TV. Okay. That's the next one. But I want to talk about the things that you can do to de-stress in the moment, because we are doers and we are beers. And so the things that you can do are in the moment is literally go and deep breathe. Just honestly, you hear people say it all the state. You hear master teachers and facilities, they'll say, change your state. Get out of your seat. If you're sitting down, sit down. If you're standing up, right? Like if you're standing up and that's what you do, just go sit down and take 5 or 10 deep breaths. Or if you're sitting all day, just go stand up and go. If you can get outside to do it, even better. Here's one of my massive rescues I run a pretty, as you know, producing books and working with clients, and I run pretty strong in my business. And so one of the things that I do is I take music breaks. Look, it's 3 minutes. Like seriously, it's 3 minutes. Like I will go in the middle of my day, I'm like, okay, I've had enough. And I will go satisfy my brain and go, well, I'm going to go do something that I need to. So I'll go prepare my dinner. It could be 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It could be 11. I'll go prepare. I'll go cut some vegetables. I'll do something like that. And I will put on a song and I will listen to the song and I'll pretend I can sing it and I'll do all of that. And so, yeah, seriously, my daughter's like, Mom, you can't sing. I'm like, yes, I can. But I use music as an immediate alleviation and it gives my brain a break because it's completely different from what I was doing. I'm not a professional singer. It's not my work. Okay. If it's your work, then you need to go onto the computer, maybe, stop singing in the, but go do that. And then the other thing that is an incredible alleviator for the stress of that organ called the brain, it's your friend, is laughter. And so look, I honestly, I don't know if you know who Russell Peters is and Wanda Sykes, but I owe them the biggest bouquet of roses because for the last 2.5 years, I listen to them before I go to bed every single night. My friends, they're like, oh, you're going to watch your comedy now? And I'm like, straight up, and it's a 2 or 3 minute clip off YouTube. And I laugh and I've watched the same clips because these guys need to do some new material. So if they're out there listening, please send some new material. And I watch and I have that chuckle, not just because I know it's good for me, but because I enjoy comedy. And you can have a comedy break. Look, I don't care if you're super, super busy. You can, just so you know, most people take their phone to the bathroom with you. Yes, they do. They take the phone into the bathroom. Why we think we need it there, I'm not sure. But so while you're tinkling, you can listen to some comedy instead of checking your. Don't tell me you don't. As you do. How many times people have Facebook something? So listen to comedy in your bathroom break.
I love it. I love it. I love all of those tips. Thank you so much. And music is one of the key things I love. Music is in my life. And I love that, just taking 3 to 5 minutes to listen to a song and then go and watch those comedy breaks. That's how I love Wanda Sykes as well. She's hilarious. So she is hilarious. So those are some tips, ladies. So make sure, take a break, and that is change your situation. That is a thing. I talk about grounding, walking outside and standing in your yard. If you can take your shoes off, that's even better. And just taking a couple of minutes to reset. So those are some great things for your brain. And then let's go ahead and talk about television.
So let's talk about television. When I'm talking about television, sometimes people say to me, I don't watch TV. I go, you never go on YouTube? You never watch? They're like, yeah. I'm like, it's TV. It's just digital TV. They're like, I don't watch TV. I watch Netflix. I'm like, oh, seriously? I'm like, I'm not for, you know what I mean? I'm not your mom. You don't have to lie. Because whatever it is that we watch now, there's obviously choices in what you watch. But there's, and that everyone knows what I'm saying. Look, I love the Bourne series, but it's full of, intensity, and it takes you on a roller coaster ride, and it'll rise your blood pressure and bring your anxiety down and maybe make you cry on the romantic scene. Like it's, you know what? It's like, it's a mixture. It's a smoothie full of emotions, not conducive right before you go to bed for your brain. What I want you to know is when your brain sees trauma. So imagine how much trauma our brain has seen in the last 3 years. Okay. I'm going to tell you, I was the person that was telling people to get off their TV. I had clients and friends that are like, I'm feeling depressed. I'm like, stop watching it. If there's something important, you're going to find out because you're on Facebook, right? You're on social media. Your friends are going to tell you, you need to watch the numbers go up or watch the numbers go down. And I'm like, you don't. I was pulling myself off TV. I was doing free brain meditations for people. I'm like, you are going down a rabbit hole and you need a break. So we've really been, for lots and obvious reasons, attached to the TV more than we have probably been in 10 years. And so as I was pulling people off TV, the one thing I would say to them is when you watch something that your brain takes in as traumatic, okay, it takes 30 hours to run that through. Now, imagine if you're watching TV at night, even if you're waiting all the way to the next night to watch TV, It's not 30 hours. So you're putting trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. And then you're wondering why you're depressed. You're wondering why you don't have any energy. You're wondering why by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're wondering why you're looking at the world through glasses of negativity, not even trying to be negative. Like, so many people are positive people, but they're like, I don't know what to do, or all I see is this. And it's like, because you're downloading at a speed that your body can't process. So just look at that. Imagine your brain is your computer, and you're throwing apps at it and apps at it and apps at it and files. And it's like, I can't download all this. That's what most of us walk around with if you are not choosing your media correctly. So look, I watch Bourne. I'm going to go watch some Russell Peters at night. I actually asked myself the other day, I watched an incredible show. It came up, I've seen it a few times, and I was like, I don't think so. And I watched it, and it was Seeing All Red. And it's political. I'm like, oh, that's about Gloria Steinem all over it. Am I in the space to get political right now? Because it'll gonna get my blood going, and I'm gonna get angry at something. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I am. And I watched it, and I was like, it was a great movie. I actually watched it again the next day. So you got to make choices about what you watch. You got to make choices about how much you watch it. You got to make choices about who's sitting around you while you're watching that stuff on TV. You got to really watch that. You can counter it, but once the trauma is there and you consider it trauma, then you need to be careful how much you're traumatizing your brain just by watching the news. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And there are statistics that you watch the news for 6 minutes, it ruins your day for 6 hours.
And imagine how many people, they get up and they watch the news and they read the news in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then they wonder why they're pissed off driving in the car. Mm-hmm. Or they get to the office and someone says something, not that we're all happy daisies walking around every day, but you don't need to add fuel to the fire. And sometimes you could read the news and feel great and inspired about what something's done. But by nature, negativity sells in the media. Exactly. So watch your media.
Exactly. I love that. And we have time for one more. So what is the final thing that
one more. Okay. So we've done food, we've done sport. Okay. We've done TV. So organization. I was going to say the people that you hang out with make an impression on your brain, but let's just leave that there. I won't go into details, but the organization. And so as we start to get older and look at, that there's things that I do from a supplement standpoint that help the brain. I happen to believe in making sure that you feed the brain the right things. So that's what I can say about that. But organization is really helpful. I actually say to people, when you're starting to organize things to make it easy for the brain, that's when I want to talk to you and talk about some of the things that we can do from a supplementation standpoint. So if you are in a place of, that word that starts with O that we don't say, I'll just say it and then I'll cancel. But when you say the word overwhelm, it actually floods your brain. So you want to pick a different word. I always say to people, don't say I'm busy. Don't say I'm tired. Don't say I'm overwhelmed, because we know what we think about comes about, and you don't want to make those claims. Don't make those claims. Okay. But from an organization standpoint, if you are at a time in your life where you're super busy or you have a lot going on, then honestly, it's almost like it's a top performance technique. So I teach top performance. So I'm going to tell you what to do. You keep your keys in the same place, always. You make a spot for those keys. You keep them there. At times where life's loosey-goosey and you want to throw them from 15 different purses, on you, right? So I tell people, if you wear reading glasses, go buy 6 pair, go buy 8 pair. I mean, these are not expensive for the most part where you're shopping, and put them where you're going to be. This is if you're under duress. I just want to give you some techniques. The other one is use the same purse. Use the same purse. This is not a time to be matching your bag. To go use the black one. Okay. It's going to work with everything. Keep your clothes minimal. You only wear 20% of your outfits anyway. And I know that statistic to be true. So there's stuff you think you look good in when you're under duress or there's a lot going on. Pick from the stuff that you already like. You don't have to, just pick from the stuff you already like. Have everything very much there. And I say layer what it is that you need to do. Layering is a really great technique, right? So having the same things in the same place is important. But so when you go for a walk, so for me, when I go for a walk, I also do a meeting, and I also go grocery shopping. Right now, they say you can't multitask. Well, I'm going to, I know there's stats that I have to go up against on that one, but I'm just going to call it layering, right? Layering. So if you are in a time of duress, keeping things really, really simple, doing things at the same time that give you pleasure. I'm enjoying walking. I can talk to you here as much as I can sit in my butt and talk to you on the Zoom, right? And then I can go get some fruits and vegetables for the evening. So that's what I want to talk about, is just organization and keeping things super simple. And if you feel like your life is unorganized, it's not good for your brain, hire a great professional organizer and get them to come in and get you into some kind of system, because it will really save you the taxing of your brain. And that's a top performance. And if you're in a business, that's just critical. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all of those ways for our brains to be healthy and sexy, because we do want sexy brains. And if somebody listening tonight wants to be able to find you, how can they find you, Deborah?
Oh, I'm so easy. I've made it so simple for people. So they can actually go to debdrummond.com. If they want to email me, they can go to deb@debdrummond.com. And on all my social handles, I'm Deborah Drummond from Vancouver on Facebook. I'm Deborah Drummond on LinkedIn. So they can go there as well. But it's just my name. Easy, 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 easy.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here this evening. And for those of you watching, remember, you only get one body and one brain. So take care of it now and stay healthy. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.